Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great. My name is Swati, and now I'm going to talk to you about Swami Vivekananda's speech at America. Yes, we all know that it's a very famous speech which was given by India's one of the greatest spiritual leader, spiritual guru, mentor, and a person who spoke about the Vedas, who spoke about Vedanta. Yes, he's none other than Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda delivered his landmark speech on September 11, 1893 at the Art Institute of Chicago, where the World Parliament of Religions was held, and that was a place where people or leaders, religious leaders from all the religions had come and gathered to speak about different religious theories and the effect of different religion on the world and their message they wanted to give to the world. Now, if you analyze Swami Vivekananda's astrological chart or his Vedic astrology horoscope chart, so he had a Sagittarius ascendant or a Sagittarius lagna, and his moon sign, his moon rashi was Virgo. So being a Sagittarius ascendant, Swamiji was a man who was deeply interested in religion, spirituality, because the lord of Sagittarius is Jupiter. Swami Vivekananda's in his chart, we have the planet Sun in his lagna. So in his ascendant, Sun is there, and if Sun is there, so Sun shines. I mean, he was magnetic. His personality was magnetic, and he had the kingly qualities of a guru and a mentor, and he had this leadership skills, and wherever he went, people followed him. So in Nabamsha, his ascendant is Scorpion, and we have Jupiter in Scorpion. So for that reason, since Jupiter is there in his lagna, his ascendant, so he was famous as a guru, as a teacher, and he was highly regarded in society, and he got associated with many gurus in his lifetime also. So Swami Vivekananda started addressing the whole crowd by telling them, brothers and sisters, my dear brothers and sisters in America, which was kind of applauded by everyone, because normally they use the words ladies and gentlemen, but when he said brothers and sisters as a spiritual guru, he was loved by everyone. So Swamiji in his speech spoke about Hinduism, spoke about India. He said how India is a confluence, a congregation of so many religions. He spoke about how India accepts all the religions, whether it's the agnosticism of Buddhism, atheism of Jains. He said that India is a country which accepts all the religions, and he spoke about how every person who is following a religion is actually like a frog in a well. I mean, just like a frog is inside a well, that frog thinks that he or she knows everything, his or her religion is the best, but that person hasn't heard anything about the other perspective, the other religions, and every frog in their wells, they are thinking they are the best. But it's very important that we need to hear the other person's point of view. We need to go out from our own world and see how the world is in the outside. Swamiji spoke about how Hindus got their religion from Vedas. He emphasized a lot on Vedas. Actually, Swamiji spoke about how Hinduism has two parts. One part is the ritualistic part, and the other part is the spiritual part. Ritualistic part is that part where you do the worshipping, you chant the mantras, you go to temples, you do the pujas, the rituals and all that thing. And spiritual side is that side which is about devotion, which is about a mental prayer, or which is about meditation, which is about just a pure connection with God, with nothing coming in intermediate or as a middle medium. He spoke about how Vedas have no beginning or end. Yes, you heard it right. Vedas are called those mystical books which has no beginning and no end. We don't know from where it started and where it is going to end. So Vedas are connected similar to God, because in Hinduism, you might have heard in Bhagavad Gita also, it's written that God or divine, the supreme power, is someone who has no beginning and no end, and Vedas are similar like that. So he emphasized how the Vedas will remain even if we forget them. Like we die, our next generation dies, and the next generation continues. So the Vedas will continue. I mean, they will remain forever. Like, imagine, so many books are there, they're eternal. Whether it's Mahabharata, whether it's Ramayana, whether it's Vedas, the Upanishads, they are there. They are going to exist no matter what happens. He spoke about science. I mean, I was kind of mystified by Swami Vivekananda's speech when I saw that he is a spiritual man, but he is speaking of science. Now, I am myself a science student and I believe in science a lot. And the basis of science is always truth. And God is always called as truth in the spiritual language. God is truth. So whenever you are following the truth, so then you are actually in the right path. Then you are actually following God. So he has made the basis of his spiritual talks as scientific. So he spoke about the Big Bang theory and how the cosmic energy started. I mean, he spoke about how everything started from Big Bang, but before that, something was there which created the whole, the blast or that whole ball of energy from which everything came out. He spoke about the time before everything started. The question is from where it started. What was the beginning of the creation? I mean, let's say if we all say that I don't believe in God and God doesn't exist. I mean, where is God? I can't see God. I mean, we can't see God in our own eyes. We have never experienced it. We just imagine that God is like this, God is like that. But then the biggest question which makes me believe in God is that from where did the universe start? What was the beginning? From where? What is that source of energy? And we get the answer that it's something which we cannot comprehend. So that is where Swamiji has spoken about in his speech. He also spoke about how God is sometimes potential and sometimes kinetic energy. If you have read science, you know how energy can be divided into potential energy and kinetic energy. So potential energy is something which is kind of stored energy, which is there but which has not been utilized. But kinetic energy is something which is moving, which is in action, which is utilized. So he said that sometimes God is just dormant somewhere and divine is dormant. It's kind of I'll say stored energy, not being running, but sometimes it's kinetic, it's moving, For example, when you see a bird flying, it's kinetic energy. So God is actually flying in form of a bird. When you see, let's say, a tree which is not moving, might be a dormant energy. I mean, he speaks about things in a very cryptic manner, Swami Vivekananda's way of talking, his speeches are very metaphysical, spiritual, and it's a mixture of everything. I mean, because if you might have read a little bit about his biography, he was a very intelligent man. He was a well-read man. He was filled with wisdom, with intelligence, with science. He knew about science, spirituality, metaphysics. He had read a lot of books and he was a genius. And the things he talks in his speech or he speaks are kind of stuff which is beyond what we can imagine or beyond what we can comprehend. Because we just know limited kind of information which we read from here and there or from internet. But there are certain things which we don't know. Certain things which our human brain cannot comprehend. And he speaks about that the thing in his speech. He speaks about how creation and creator are two things happening similarly, parallelly running without beginning and end. He says that creator is without beginning and end and creation is also without beginning and end. We don't know from where it started. We don't know when it is going to end. But he spoke about how the whole system, when I'm talking about system, it is universe, the whole universe. I mean, we have heard that there is not just one universe. There are many universes and, there are parallel universes. There are multiple universes. All the universes or everything which is there, present as matter in the world is going to be more and more chaotic. Like if you have read a little bit of astrophysics or physics science, you must have read how all the planets, the stars, solar system, other systems, other stars, they are all moving apart and they're all burning more and more every day, and one day all the planets, all the systems, all the solar system and this all the stars, they all are going to die one day. They're all going to end one day. There will be just black hole all around. Everything will be over, and they're just moving apart. They're just getting scattered more and more. And if you don't know about this, you can do a research in internet. So it's getting more and more chaotic. So he spoke about how there is going to be more chaos and everything will be destroyed. And he even said that already it has happened many times. He said that yes, the universe has been created and destroyed several times. And I don't know, like scientists, they have not yet proved all these things, but it is there in Bhagavad Gita. It is there in some of our ancient Hindu mythological books. It is there in Vedas and Puranas. It is there. All these stories are there. And you can see that, our life was so simple in the earlier times. Our ancestors, they led such a simple life. But today, life has become so chaotic, so complicated. I mean, people are so depressed, sad, and, everything is getting more and more complicated and chaotic. This is affecting our life also. But what he wanted to convey was that he said that the world is going to be destroyed one day. Everything is going to be over one day. So what are you even worrying about? I mean, the whole universe is going to be finished, over. We all will die. Nothing will be there. So what are you so concerned about? What are you going to preserve? And we all know that human beings are like tiny specks in this universe. We are so tiny compared to the big planets and the stars that we will just disappear one day. So what are you worrying about so much? Swami Vivekananda spoke about this line, which is, I was like kind of mesmerized by this line. He said, I am a spirit in a body and the body will die, but I will go on living. So he said that body is matter, body is made up of matter, but the spirit is kind of caged inside the body. It's like the body is like a cage where the spirit is kind of trapped. Spirit as in the soul. Soul is trapped inside the body, and body can be destroyed, body can be killed, can be burnt, or anything can happen. If you don't eat food, you will die, but then you are not dying. The soul is not dying, but the body is dying. So he spoke about the separation of soul and body in a very clear manner. And I really believe he spoke like that because he wanted to make us aware that that if you want to be spiritual, if you really want to become like a spirit, then you have to start identifying yourself as a soul and not as a body. Because the moment we think that we are this body, the moment we think that this face, this hand, the leg and everything I have, this is me, then your focus is completely centered around pleasing the body and you forget the soul. And understanding the soul is the beginning of your spiritual empowerment. Moving on, he also spoke about how some people are born miserable and some people are born great. He said that why is it that some people are poor, some people are underprivileged, unemployed, in a sad state, weak inside, everybody is making them feel distressed. Some people are living in poverty, some are immigrants. If you see across the globe, there are people facing a lot of misery. And otherwise, there are some people who are having like great lives. I mean, you might have seen, you have some relative or cousin who is very rich and they're having a nice life. Or some person, some famous person is having so much of money and they're wasting money like anything. There are so many rich people. Some people are just born rich. Why is it that? He asked this question, why? Why so much of inequality in this world? Why so much of difference in this world? And then he answered his own question by saying that this, our ancient books, they speak about the past karmas, the past actions. We all are aware of that in Hinduism, that it's our karma, it's our action. If you have done very good karma, you are automatically born in a very good house with all the privileges. And with bad karmas, you might be born in a place of poverty or whatever, or maybe you don't have the facilities you want. But still, I mean, you can change everything by the karmas of the present life and everything turns around. But then he spoke about habit. He said that how when you have a habit and you do it repeatedly, again and again and again and again, you do the same thing, when you practice it a lot, then it becomes like your second nature. It becomes your nature. When habit is repeated, it becomes your nature, and then that becomes your karma actually. And from that karma, everything, all the thing, the suffering and whatever is happening, it's happening because of your habits. And then why is it that when a baby is born, it's a newborn baby, and that baby has a certain habits, certain peculiar habits? Like you might have noticed that there is a baby, the baby grows up, and within few years the child is very, very active all the time. And then there is another child who is very lazy. Why is it that? It's because, so he spoke about how it is the past life's activities which is still there inside the soul. If you imagine the soul as a hard disk, and it is some memory, past memory, which is saved there, and it is going to perform accordingly. It is carrying a baggage, a whole full bag filled with habits of many, many past life, and you're going to act accordingly. But then that doesn't mean that you cannot change anything. So all you have to do is that in this present life, you have to change your daily routine. And as you change it, as you become a new person, the old habits, they get washed away, and a new habit starts, a new life starts. Suppose you are a very negative person, but in this life you decide, no, I will become a positive person. I will become spiritual. I will do my duties. I will, be very disciplined. I will wake up early in the morning. You take the decision, you act on it, things change. And that is how everything is. That is what we call karma. And you have to practice it again and again and again and again, and then you perfect it. So he spoke about why don't we remember our past life? If every information of our past life is saved inside our soul is inside the body, why don't we get an access to that hard disk? Why don't we get access to our past life? Why don't we remember it? So he said that it's not that impossible to remember your past life. All you have to do is you have to push your memory in the backward direction, and then you have to think deeply. You have to do a deep meditation, and then the entire past life will come up, and you can try it. I mean, it is said that Swami Vivekananda had done these things, and even his guru Ramakrishna Paramahansa also saw all his past life, and he was sure that this man is a worthy man to be his disciple, and he accepted him as his disciple. That's another story. But then that's what Swamiji talks about, that all the mysteries of a human being. I mean, he speaks about how powerful a human being can be, that how we can be superhuman beings, So he said that soul is something which a sword cannot pierce, fire can't burn it, water can't melt it, or air cannot dry it. I mean, soul is so powerful that all those elements of nature cannot affect it at all. And he spoke about how soul is located inside the body. It is free, unbounded, but unfortunately it is tied down to the matter. Body is matter. And again, the sad thing is that we all know, like we hear all the time, that soul is extremely powerful. It's very, very powerful. But then if soul is more powerful than the body, why is it that soul believes that it is imperfect? Why does the soul feels so tied down, so distressed? It is because it is the will of God. It's the will of divine that the soul will always imagine itself as imperfect, will be tied down to the matter, and there will be a constant struggle. Only when the soul will feel sad, distressed, imperfect, then only it will make an effort to release itself from the bondage of the body. And he spoke about how knowing God, knowing divine, knowing the supreme power, the super soul alone will save you. And we are all the children of God. Matter has to be your servant, and not that soul becomes a servant of matter, not vice versa. He spoke about how God is everywhere, the Almighty, all merciful, pure. He spoke about the qualities of God are similar to our Father, Mother, and is the source of all our strength. He spoke about the fact that the only way we can connect with God is through love, through devotion, through worshipping, through purity of our mind, heart and our soul. Only when we surrender in front of the divine, then only we will be connected to God. There is no other way. You cannot offer any material to God and say as a bribery that I am giving you this and in return you come. No, that's not going to happen. You have to completely surrender. That's what he spoke about. Then Swamiji also spoke about Lord Krishna. He said that how Lord Krishna was reincarnated in earth as a human form, as a human being, and he gave the message that a human being or a man or a woman has to live in this earth like a lotus. A lotus is a flower which grows in water, but it is never moistened. Sometimes a lotus plant, you can see it grows in a very dirty pond, but then it is so beautiful and pure and shining despite the dirty pond, that stinking place. How does it maintain its purity? That is how a human being has to be. And if you see the lotus leaf, you can see how the water droplet just moves here and there, but it never wets the leaf. That is how the ideal life of a human being has to be. Of a spiritual man or a woman has to be like a lotus. He spoke about that you should love God without the hope of any reward. It has to be complete surrender. It has to be an unconditional love. And he said that perfection is reached when the soul is freed from matter. And that is not an easy process. It's a very long, constant battle which you have to make. I mean, it has to be a constant struggle. There has to be, it might take many lives for you to become divine and to reach God, to seek God. It's a long battle. But you have to, take the steps, make the efforts and everything. But this can be actually achieved only by the mercy of God, and this mercy can be achieved only by the person who is pure. I mean, if you are really pure within, then only you can reach a real spiritual growth. And then he spoke about something like science is nothing but finding of unity. He said that the time, whenever science will reach unity, science will completely stop and it will finally reach the goal. The whole purpose of science is to find a point where everything comes to one point, where everything gets united or everything reaches a point of unity. And you might have heard about this theory called the unified field theory in physics, where Einstein was trying this, but he couldn't achieve it. Even Stephen Hawking also tried that he could not be that successful. But that theory was all about how they can combine all the laws of physics to one law. So that is exactly what Swami Vivekananda spoke also in his speech. He said that when all the laws of physics unite at one point, then physics will end or science will end. Similarly, and science will find its final goal. He also spoke that how in chemistry also, the progress of chemistry will stop when chemistry or the chemical engineers or the chemical scientists, the scientists of chemistry, will discover one element from which all other elements can be made. Imagine we have an element, wonder element, from there you can make oxygen, from there you can make hydrogen, you can make everything. Basically, he is just interpreting, spirituality in a scientific manner. And then he spoke about physics. He said that physics will stop when it would discover one energy from which all other energies are just manifestation. Like we get divine energy. There is one energy we discover, the scientists discover, and from there you can have gravitational energy, you can have potential, kinetic, everything can be created from that. But that has of course not happened yet. He spoke about religion in the same way. He said that there are many religions in this world, but the whole process of chasing religion will stop when we have one unified religion. We'll discover which has the best part of all other religion, or when we find out there is just one super soul, which is the constant basis of an ever-changing world, one soul of which all souls, one super souls from which all souls are delusive manifestation. So he spoke about that only by multiplicity and duality the ultimate unity can be reached, which means that only by chasing multiple things we will reach to a point. So if you are scattered, if you are chaotic, if your life is chaotic today, tomorrow, you must have seen actually some examples. I will say is that there are kids in our home who are very mischievous. They do so much of naughty things. they pull pranks, and they are so scattered, their energy is so kind of diverse and scattered. They're doing so many things, and then suddenly you see the child has completely been tamed naturally, and the child is so quietly studying or focused at one thing. Suddenly they see music and they start loving music, and then everything is about music. And there are people who are doing many things, many activities, multitasking, and then suddenly they find something which is so beautiful, lovable for that person. It may not be for you. And then they stop. They start doing that thing. They become passionate about that thing. They go deep in that thing. So when you go deep in one thing, you will stop digging in other areas, obviously. So that is what he's talking about. So you need to find that bigger thing in life. So he spoke about how in India, so the way of worshipping is through images, because our mind is programmed to understand images. You will see that when you watch a video, you love it better more than reading a book or a novel or anything. Normally, when you see a picture, we connect with that more. When you watch a movie, you enjoy it a lot, but you may not enjoy texts or words that much, because our brain is conditioned to like images more. So that's why, so Hindus, they keep an image. So it is in a format of an idol or a photo or of God, and that is how we, with that external image, we get a connection with God. That is the purpose of the idols, the photos, whether it's of Goddess Lakshmi or Saraswati or Lord Vishnu. The purpose is that is an external representation from which you have a connection. But then he said that these idols, these books, the temples or the photos, they are all kind of a support, which will only help you to reach closer to God. But there are further stages also afterwards. He said that the first stage is external worship, which is the beginning stage. The next stage, the second stage of spiritual process, is the mental prayer. Is the second stage, where you do not take the support of any temple or a idol or a photo, but then you just have a prayer or a connection, or when you just meditate, when you connect with God, when you do meditation, or when you just think, or maybe sometimes you might have remembered, like you had your examination and you just closed your eyes and you said, "Oh God, please help me pass this examination. Please do it for me. Won't you do this for me?" Don't you talk to God like that sometimes? Maybe, I don't know. Some people do that. So if you might have done that thing, so he's talking about that thing. When you just communicate in a mental way without the help of any external support, the mental prayer, that is the second stage. Or when you just meditate, all the rishis, they used to do that, and we also do it. When we do meditation, we close our eyes, or we just sit still and we just try to go blank. When you just go blank, no thoughts, nothing, you just go to the state of being thoughtless. And we say that the thoughtless state is the most powerful state, that is the most spiritual state. So then he said the third stage is where you realize God, where you see God, however, in what format, when you actually experience the presence of God, that is the final state. And he also acknowledged that he has felt that. I was astonished, and he said that he has experienced God himself. He spoke about sun, moon, stars, and how these natural objects or the planets, they cannot express, but they all give the shine of God. They shine through God, they shine through divine. And he said that the supreme power recognizes worshipping as a part of man's struggle. And he said that every soul is a young eagle gathering more and more strength till it reaches the glorious self. We are all like eagles, and some are weak, some are strong, but we are all trying to gain more and more strength every day. He said that it is the same light coming through glasses of different colors, and variation is necessary for adaptation. And he spoke about a universal religion, the need for an universal religion, which is the sum total of all the religion, which takes all the best part of all religion with infinite space for development. And finally, he spoke about death, where he said that death brings a lot of fear in everybody's mind. It is a form of weakness, and it creates all kind of fear inside our mind, and we take all the bad decisions only because of death. And the only way to be freed from death is when you have love for God. Well, Swamiji's speech was kind of applauded by so many people in the parliament, and people loved him. And I think we should take a leaf from that speech, and we should understand what he was trying to say. And I'm sure it's going to help you. It's going to bring the light in your life, and to be more empowered as a human being, as a human soul, and not just a body. That was all, and thank you so much for watching this video.